Imagine this. It's late, the room is dim, and the world finally releases its grip on you. No notifications, no noise, no one needing anything. The silence feels unfamiliar, almost like a presence, something that watches you the moment your distractions fall away. You sit there, breathing in the quiet, and for reasons you can't name, something inside you tightens. Your hand moves almost on its own, maybe toward your phone, maybe toward something to clean, organize, adjust, pretend to care about. Anything to avoid sinking too deep into the moment that asks you to face yourself. You tell yourself you're tired. You tell yourself you'll deal with things tomorrow. You tell yourself it's not the right moment. But beneath all of that, there's a whisper you try not to hear. I don't want to meet the version of myself that would show up if I did the thing I'm avoiding. It's strange, isn't it? You can move through hours of casual scrolling without friction. You can lose yourself in a show, a playlist, a loop of comforting noise. But the second you get close to doing the thing that actually matters, your mind throws up a wall. Heavy, invisible, immediate. Why does that wall appear only when the work touches something real inside you? Why do you suddenly feel exposed the moment you prepare to step toward the life you say you want? Why does it feel easier to abandon your possibilities than to take one uncomfortable step toward them? You call it procrastination. You say you're lazy or unmotivated or undisciplined. But you feel the truth in your body. It isn't laziness. It's fear. Not fear of the task, but fear of what the task reveals about you. If you listen closely, the tension between you and your potential feels almost like a warning, as if some part of you believes that taking action risks exposing a truth you're not prepared to handle. But what truth is that? And why does your mind protect you from it so fiercely? Before you answer, notice something subtle. Every time you delay something meaningful, you aren't postponing a task, you're postponing a meeting with yourself. Not the polished version you wish you were, but the raw, unfiltered one that emerges only in silence. Most people never sit with that. They escape into noise, into busyness, into anything that prevents them from noticing the uncomfortable question underneath the procrastination. What part of me am I afraid I'll have to confront if I actually follow through? Hold that thought, not as an accusation, but as an invitation. Because what you're avoiding isn't the work. It's the mirror the work holds up. And the person reflected back at you feels harder to face than any deadline. This is where things begin to shift. Not through judgment, but through understanding. The kind that reaches deeper than productivity habits or motivational cliches. The kind that touches the psychology beneath your patterns and the identity hidden beneath your choices. When Jung said people will do anything to avoid confronting their own soul, he wasn't exaggerating. You felt it. Every meaningful task pulls a hidden thread inside you. That thread is connected to the parts of yourself you've edited, silenced, or buried to survive in a world that rewarded compliance over truth. Your shadow isn't the dark, dramatic creature you imagine. It's the version of you that quietly remembers who you really are. And when you approach work that matters, you brush against the door where that shadow lives. Your mind pulls you back, not because the task is dangerous, but because the truth behind it feels too close. And here's the paradox. You're not resisting the work. You're resisting the identity shift that comes with the work. Every meaningful action asks you to step out of the character you've been performing, the role that kept you safe, the persona that earned approval, the identity you built from old fears and borrowed expectations. You hesitate because the moment you start, that identity begins to crack. And even if it no longer fits, even if it suffocates you, it's familiar. And familiarity is powerful. Nietzsche warned that becoming yourself is the greatest danger, not because it's hard, but because the moment you begin, illusions die. You lose the comfort of saying, "One day I will." You lose the protection of potential. Action forces you to confront who you are right now, naked and unguarded. Maybe that's what terrifies you. Not the task, not the effort, but the stripping away of every excuse that allowed you to hide from your own power. Procrastination becomes a refuge, a safe distance between you and the truth. A place where you can remain overwhelmed but untouched, ambitious but untouched. And while it feels harmless in the moment, its consequences seep quietly into your life. Every time you avoid something meaningful, your mind absorbs a message. I can't trust myself to follow through. I'm not capable of becoming who I hope to be. The real me is someone I shouldn't meet. These messages don't announce themselves. They sit beneath your thoughts, shaping your confidence, your choices, your emotional weight. They turn guilt into routine. They turn doubt into identity. They turn a temporary hesitation into a long-term narrative. One day you wake up and realize you haven't lost time. You've lost a sense of yourself. You start to drift. You feel tired in ways rest can't fix. You feel unfulfilled in ways success can't solve. You feel disconnected from your own potential, like someone cut the wire that once connected you to the person you might become. You still dream, but you don't believe yourself anymore. And that disbelief is the true cost of avoidance. The world won't warn you about this. In fact, it benefits from your avoidance. A person who stays small is easy to predict, easy to influence, easy to exhaust. A person who fears their own potential rarely disrupts anything, and the systems around you are built for that version of you. The quieter version, the safer version, the version who keeps postponing their life until it becomes a memory of almost. Here's the part no one says out loud. Later isn't a schedule. It's a trap. Every time you choose later, your fear grows another root. The task doesn't get easier. Your identity becomes more fragile. Your potential feels further away. And eventually, later becomes never. Not because you failed, but because you gradually became a stranger to the person who could have done it. But you're not at the end of anything. You're at the beginning, the place where the rebellion starts. Not a loud rebellion, not a dramatic one. A quiet shift, almost imperceptible at first, but powerful enough to change the entire trajectory of your life. The first step isn't to fix yourself. You're not broken. You've simply outgrown the identity you've been carrying. Your procrastination isn't defiance. It's a signal that the old self can no longer guide the new life trying to emerge. The discomfort you feel is not a stop sign. It's a compass. It points directly at the parts of yourself that are ready to evolve. Instead of asking, "How do I force myself to do this?" try asking, "Which part of me feels threatened by who I might become if I do?" That's where the truth lives. And once you see it clearly, the resistance softens. The task stops being a battlefield. It becomes a mirror, a doorway, a conversation with the self you abandoned somewhere along the way. And maybe the kindest thing you can do is to start, not confidently, not perfectly, but honestly. Start before you're ready. Start before you believe in yourself. Start before the fear quiets down. Read enough stories of people who actually changed their lives and you'll notice something consistent. They all began in uncertainty. They walked forward while shaking. They acted not because they felt capable, but because acting was the only way to meet the version of themselves they sensed was waiting. Identity doesn't precede action. Identity grows from action. Every step reshapes who you believe yourself to be. When you act, even a little, you send your mind a new message. I am someone who shows up. I am someone I can trust. I am someone who moves toward my life, not away from it. That is the rebellion. Not perfection, not discipline. Self-alignment. The moment you choose yourself, gently, imperfectly, consistently, something old inside you begins to fall apart. Not in a painful way, but in a relieving one. Like exhaling after holding your breath for years. And then comes the final truth, the one everything has been leading to. You were never avoiding the work. You were avoiding the transformation the work demanded. You feared the version of yourself who would no longer need the old excuses, the old protections, the old identity. But here's the grace in all of this. There is a you beneath the avoidance, a you who has been waiting quietly, patiently for you to stop running. A you who isn't paralyzed by potential, who isn't afraid of truth, who doesn't hesitate at the edge of possibility. A you who is already whole. When you finally stop avoiding your life, you don't become someone new. You return to someone true. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, you'll look back at this moment and realize this was not the day you fixed yourself. This was the day you stopped abandoning yourself. The day you chose presence over distraction, honesty over identity, becoming over surviving. The day you walked toward the person you've always been beneath the noise. And you didn't run.